Just do you know, Jennifer, if there's anyone from the community that is here besides the board?
Uh, I do see a few names that I'm familiar with, members of the
Okay,
public.
okay. And if they have anything to say, can you point it out if you know if that's the case?
Sure. I'll
Okay.
just let them know that if there's anyone from the public who wish to express their concerns or whatnot, you can send me a message on the chat box. You should see it on whether you're using a smartphone or your desktop, and then I'll relay that to the chair. Uh, and so then afterwards, I can unmute you and you can speak if you wish to do so.
Thank you. So, welcome to the February Community Board on Landmarks meeting. Is 140 West Broadway application for sidewalk vault replacement? Oh, it says postponed. We
Yeah,
have
they
one
spoke
item.
earlier today.
Oh, okay. We have one item. We can schmooze it out anything after that. Tin Building application for relocation of originally proposed John Street snack bar and concession. Are you here?
We have our speaker and presenter. I'm going to go ahead and unmute our speaker, Joy Gutierrez, and we have our presenter, Jessica Sheridan.
Thank you.
Joy, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, of course we can.
Oh, good. Let me just, I thought I was having computer issues. Wonderful. Thank you all for having us this evening. I take it I'm not able to show my camera.
Jennifer?
For some reason, Joy, I cannot make you panelists, so I'm only able to unmute you or mute you. I'm wondering if you joined with your desktop computer or did you join by smartphone?
I joined with, I tried to join by desktop and it wouldn't allow me with the meeting code. So then I just did it through the browser. It would work through the browser better or the desktop app?
The desktop app.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
That's okay. I'm just gonna do the introduction for Jessica anyway, so that's fine.
Okay, Joy.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. I am Joy Gutierrez, and I am the Parks Department's Revenue Architect. We are here today, once again, to present a design for an outdoor cafe at the East River Esplanade at the South Street Seaport. We had previously shown a design that was located at the terminus of John Street and have responded to the community's desire to relocate the kiosk away from obstructing the view of the harbor and its historic ships. This new design takes that into account and has been relocated to a site adjacent to the Tin Building. This park's concession was competitively bid through a request for proposal process and will be developed and operated under the terms of a 10-year license agreement with the South Street Seaport Limited Partnership, a subsidiary of Howard Hughes Corporation. They are represented here today by Israel Katz and George Giacinto. The concession is obligated to fully fund and manage the design and construction of the project, and it is important to note that unlike most parks concessions whose license fees go into the city's general fund, the license fees paid here will all go back into the surrounding parkland, including 50% of proceeds going to improvements of the Imagination Playground, and the other 50% going towards maintenance operations of the East River Esplanade. This project is a priority of parks to create a new amenity for the community to fully enjoy the surrounding seaport in a comfortable, casual setting, while creating vital new economic activity at a critical time in our city's history. The design we are presenting today is proposed to remain year-round for the entirety of the 10-year term. Mancini Duffy are the architects of record, and they are represented today by Jessica Sheridan, who I will turn this over to present the design. Thank you.
Joy,
Yep.
can you, I guess it'll appear on the presentation, the full name of the architecture firm, but I would like to ask you right off the bat, is it possible that you could stay after this presentation for a brief discussion about a Parks Department matter? Is that possible? You don't have to speak as an official, with any official capacity, but we have some questions regarding a park. It would be brief if you could. If you can't, I understand.
I could listen to the question and then I can advise you if I'm the best person to answer or if somebody else would be better.
Thank you. Okay.
Sure.
Jessica, are you there with us? I'm just confirming that I've passed the screen sharing controls over to you.
Okay, yes. See if I could share my video. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great.
The firm is called Mancini?
Mancini Duffy.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. And my colleague, Jessica Manamato, is also on the line as well. If somebody could unmute her, we're going to both present from Mancini Duffy. So there are three things that we're going to focus on, largely the design, as Joy mentioned. We'll talk a little bit about the site with the current location that we have placed it. So here, this orange rectangle is the current proposed location for the blockhouse. You can see in relation to the tin building, we've basically aligned it with the edge of the tin building. And a little bit of background about Mancini Duffy. We are the architect of record for the tin building. So we are very well aware of what's going on with the tin building. We're very much involved in it, and we're really excited about it as well.
So what is your relationship then to Robin Standifer and Stephen Alish? How does that work?
Bruce, if I may, this is George Quinto. I'll just take that. So Robin and Stephen are working on the interior design of the tin building. Mancini Duffy was brought on just prior to construction of the core and shell of the tin building to manage the core and shell piece. So they took over as the architect of record from shop at that point in time.
Okay. And so Roman and Williams has nothing to do with what we're about to.
No, they don't. They do.
Okay, thank you.
So for site context, obviously the tin building is where we drove a lot of our inspiration for the design. Additionally, as you'll see in the design, we've drawn some inspiration from the Esplanade and some of the surrounding areas, but because it's so close to the tin building, we wanted to make sure that it was contextual and it related very much to the tin building. So Jessica, are you able to unmute yourself?
I am. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Wonderful. So what you're seeing here is the floor plan of the blockhouse. So we have the bar area here at the center, and then we have patio areas on the left and right. We have a ramp for entrance and exit, and then also a stair at the front of the blockhouse, so you can enter and exit from all three of those locations. There is a cooking area in the center here and a bar area, and then there is a glass wall that lines up to the back of the steps leading up to the tin building beyond. And you can see here where the FDR is and the bike path and sidewalk in front of the building. Justin, you can go to the next slide. So this is showing you the front view of the blockhouse. You can see here the steps which are leading up into it, the right and left ramps leading to it. We have a covered area at the center and then 2 patio areas on the left and right, which are covered.
When you say the front, do you mean from South Street? We're looking east now?
Correct.
Thank you.
So you can see the tin building beyond, and then what you see kind of grayed out here is the line of the FDR above, to give you a little bit of context. So this is the covered area of the blockhouse, and what we're seeing here is how we've kind of mimicked the same style of architectural details that are happening on the roof of the tin building beyond. But we've added a little bit of its own personality, so it does feel more like an outdoor pavilion. So we have wood posts, wood flooring, and a nice wood ceiling here as a feature within the space. We're mirroring the idea of the siding that is on the tin building along the bar here. We have very similar light fixtures to the tin building, which are feature lights inside and then wall sconces throughout, which highlight these patio areas. And we have mimicked a very similar railing detail to what we have along the Esplanade. So you get a similar design aesthetic to the surrounding area. And we have built-in planters here that are on left and right. The glass wall beyond is what sort of blocks the cooking area from the steps beyond leading up to the blockhouse. And then you can see the bar area kind of highlighted here in the middle. Jessica, I think you can go to the next slide. This is the winter view. So what you saw previously was the summer view, and during winter we have removable panels which will be enclosing this central pavilion with, so that provides shelter from the weather, the inclement weather. So we would have doors entering on both sides of this, and this entire center portion becomes enclosed. This is the north view. So what you're seeing here are the steps outside of the blockhouse, kind of leading down, or outside of the tin building, leading down into the blockhouse. So a feature area for people to gather around this pavilion. This is the solid wall that you're seeing along the back of the blockhouse, which is blocking the cooking area. You're getting a great view into the patio area here on the left side. And you can see the FDR overhead a little bit better in this view. So you're seeing that relationship to the blockhouse. I think you go to the next slide, Jessica. And then this is looking back the other way. So you're really getting some great context of the location of it in relation to the tin building beyond. So you can see how we've really mimicked a lot of the architectural vernacular that you're seeing from the tin building. This gives you a closer view, and then the opposite side. So you're seeing this opposite ramp, the opposite patio beyond. You get a great view of the steps leading up to this facade of the tin building beyond. And you're seeing the underside of the FDR there in that as well.
Can you go back to that last slide that you just, yes, just for a minute, please. Thanks. No, the prior one. I guess not.
Did you want the section or the renderings?
No, the section.
Section.
Okay.
There.
There you go.
So you can see here the tin building, and then you see the steps leading down into the area where the blockhouse is situated, and you see the outline of the FDR.
I'm just looking. I can't read that. Let me see if I can expand. No, I can't. What is the difference? What is a difference? What is the distance between the bottom of the steps in the center of the section and the pavilion? There's a dimension. I can't see it.
It's 1'3" is this dimension right here.
Yeah.
Yes, 1
And
foot.
where does
3.
the bottom of that step lead to with 1.3 inches of, where does that lead to?
The steps are meant to be an area that people kind of congregate on.
I see,
Um,
I see.
and hang out on. So it's really just a connection point between the blockhouse and the tin building.
I see. Yeah. What is the relationship of the maximum height of the pavilion to the tin building in terms of visuals? If you're looking due east, because we've seen the view looking east from South Street, but what if we pulled back the camera, as it were, farther down whatever street it is that intersects? What would our view look like in terms of relative height? How much is the pavilion blocking the view of the beautiful tin building that we've seen in our last meeting?
So the pavilion itself is about 11 feet tall. We can do a view that's a little bit further back, but you would still be able to see the tin building beyond. If the umbrellas are fully open or enclosed, obviously you would see a little bit more of the glass facade on either side of it. But you would still be able to see it over the pavilion and under the FDR, as well as to the left and right. And part of the reason why we have the glass facade on the back is to really reference, as you can tell, the garage doors that are opening, or the, that glass facade of the tin building.
And how wide is, sorry, go ahead, Vicki. Vicki? I'm sorry, whoever was speaking, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to note also that we did to block the view, which is why we've utilized that glass wall there, so that you are seeing that connection through to it instead of a solid wall in that location blocking the cooking area from the steps beyond.
So I will ask you to proceed with the presentation, but at some point I would like to see the view pulled back a little, move west and turn east so we can see the whole relationship. And also my other question is, how wide is this altogether from end to end? And how wide is it then in relationship to the width of the tin building?
So we've maximized in between these two pillars that are holding up the FDR. The enclosed area, which is delineated by these columns, is 44.5 feet wide. The entire pavilion, you've got about 16'5" on either side. So if I'm doing the math, that's another 32 feet on top of the 44.5 feet. So that's the full length of it. But it spans in between these
76.5 feet.
two.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the tin building,
so it spans.
Bruce, just for the record, is 217 feet wide.
Thank you.
And is that the same size as the previous applications, George, that we've seen over the years?
You mean for the tin building, or
No, for the blockhouse, were the previous applications that we rejected 76.5 feet long?
Yeah, I would say the actual square footage it has. I don't know about the dimensions per se, Roger. I didn't compare them, to be honest with you. And we could do that for you very quickly, but the square footage is much less than what we originally proposed when it was at John Street. It was a much wider, maybe as long, but much wider.
We're bound by, we wanted to make sure there was enough of a pathway to the west so people could pass. So by the nature of its location, it's narrower than the previous design.
Yeah. So Roger, we can, if you don't mind me getting back to you on that, I just have to dig in to see what the old square footage was.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should note that, Bruce, though, because we've been through this. We've reviewed this at least 3 or 4 times over the last 70 years. So,
Thank you, Roger. I'm still trying to determine if we look at the top of this the plan, what is beyond the, I guess that's the southern bike path? What is beyond that? I know that there's an areaway that's a wide areaway that's paved under the FDR. If we cross the street, what do we see? Do we see a street? Do we see a building? That there, let's see. So we see, we see the IPIC theaters. It's not aligned with an east-west street. It's not aligned with Fulton or Beekman, correct?
Correct. The
Correct.
idea was to keep it out of the view corridor, Bruce.
Right.
So we lined it up with the Fulton building so it wasn't blocking Fulton. Correct.
Okay. Please continue with your presentation. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No problem. So Jessica, do you want to talk a little bit about the materials?
Sure. So what we're showing here are the finishes. Some of them are harkening to what's happening on the tin building, as previously noted. So we have the roof cornice, which is a green metal, which matches what we've done on the tin building. We have oak posts throughout, as well as an oak ceiling. We have green wood millwork with frosted and clear glass inserts. That's the back wall that you saw previously. This is showing the metal railing that goes throughout around the two patio areas. We have a solid surface countertop on the bar and utilizing the same metal siding as what we have on the tin building. And then we'll have these removable plexiglass covers for the winter enclosure. To the next one, Jessica. So this is showing the general aesthetic for the furniture that we're looking to do. We have a black metal table, metal and wood chairs, and bar stool. We have white metal shelving, which will hang down above the bar. And then this is showing the sconces on the exterior. You can see that in conjunction with the wood ceiling, and then the pendant lights over the bar. The floor-mounted umbrellas, which will be over each of the patio areas, and then the two metal planters, which are out front adjacent to the steps in the front of the blockhouse. And I think that's the last page.
Okay.
Yep, that's the last page.
Thank you. I don't have any more questions right now, but let's go around the table with the board. You can start anywhere. Susan, Vicky, any comments?
Oh, we have lots of comments, but I'm,
Okay.
yeah, this is a good one. I'm sorry, just for my own clarity, also as a resident here, we're putting this venue. Are we not doubling? Are we not selling food and an atmosphere related to food in the tin building? So this is what is the program, the purpose of this? I just need to understand.
Right. Vicky, this is Joy with Parks. This will be a food service kiosk. Israel or George could answer more about the menu, but it would
No,
be.
none of that. No, so you're right. So it's a food kiosk. You're gonna sell food, prepared food, and people will sit, right? And what is the program in the tin building? Isn't it the same? Places to buy food, sit down and eat it, right?
Well, Vicky, Israel Katz here with Howard Hughes. Just to kind of set up the chronology for arriving at this location,
Yeah.
there is an agreement with Park that will be operating a food service, beverage service concession on a space that is Park controlled, and will be donating a part of the proceeds to support the park. As a reaction to the comments regarding the fact that the previous location blocked John Street view, we moved it in front of tin building. So it's essentially in an effort to create an environment that allows us to operate the agreement with Park, but also not block the corridor.
I see. And so I'm sorry, can I just say this? You've essentially decided to block your own view just to kind of get this done, right?
Well, we're hoping we're not blocking too much of it, but essentially this is how we arrived here.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, Vicky, also to further answer your question, there are some advantages to having the kiosk located here because it could share the utilities of the tin building, and also in terms of maintenance and hauling away any refuse. It would be serviced in relation to the tin building. So
Right. No,
Right. It would need to be supported from a larger.
that seems like a logical thing to do. Absolutely. So it's just more food in, I'm sorry, I don't mean, no judgment, just it's more food in front of a food building. I just need to understand
yeah,
right, okay. More food in front of food building, okay.
It's more of a bar, Vicky, I think.
Yeah.
Different hours. That's a piece of it, I think. You can correct me if
Liz,
I'm wrong.
Yeah, Susan, I was going to ask the same question. Are you planning to apply for a liquor license? Is this going to be in part a bar?
It's going to operate under the same license as tin.
Meaning that it will be alcohol service, right?
Alcohol served.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
As it's in that location, it would function as a tin operated concession.
All right, so Bruce, if you don't mind, I mean, what can I say? If it has to be here and the Parks Department wants it as a program down here, and since we're not reviewing the program, we're reviewing the appropriateness. This is probably, a very good solution in terms of providing a space and shelter, especially because it's under the FDR, so it's got its roof, but also the FDR, provides a place for people to hang out and not get soaked in inclement weather. The architecture, I think, has been incredibly sensitive. Well done, Mancini Duffy, for making it as transparent as possible, because putting this structure in front of this location, after all the money and trouble that went into the tin building, you would want to showcase it, So if you put a sculpture in the middle of a plaza, you don't want to put something in front of it. But if you have to, I think you've done a great job. Thank you for being sensitive to all of us down here.
I just have to say, I couldn't agree more. Every particular of what Vicky said, including the program. We've talked for years in other committees about how the only mercantile out for lowest Manhattan seems to be food courts. Whether it was Pier 1, that seems to be failing now, whether it was the program for the Marine Ferry Terminal, which doesn't have happened yet, South Street Seaport, the Tin Building, it's just, there seems to be no other available concession except food ingestion and alcohol. There has to be some other cultural program that works for people. But as Vicky said, it's not our purview. So let's continue. Roger, Chad.
If I may, Bruce, George Israel, I mean, in the past, we've always been looking at temporary facilities or temporary concession or temporary building that was going, if I recall correctly, in previous applications, was going to be only used in the summer. Now this is a permanent structure. Does that change what we've been looking at in the past? And does that mean the zoning's different? Because obviously temporary things are ruled and managed under different zoning issues than a permanent structure. Could you explain that, please?
Roger, I think the other structure, if you remember, was shown as permanent. It was one of the comments I remember that came out of the community board that particularly in the wintertime when we put the enclosures up, that it really blocked the view. It wasn't so much in the summer when it seemed open. So the last presentation they made was for a facility that gets enclosures in it in the winter, and I'm happy to send over the old pictures if you guys don't.
Okay.
know
Okay, you're jogging my memory, and thank you for that. I think the first version was temporary, and then I think it evolved into something more permanent. Then the other question, I think it's a great precedent that Howard Hughes Corporation is sharing some of the returns with parks, because I do think that is a really public-private good use of that. And what is the percentage? How does that work, Joy?
In their license agreement, which is public information, there is a minimum that they would provide to the city, and I believe it starts at around $100,000 per year, or 10%, whichever is higher, and then it increases slightly over the course of the 10 years. But if you need that detailed information, we're happy to provide it.
Well, I just think, again, in the resolution, Bruce, this is a great precedent. I don't think we've ever had this before, where we've been able to get money for the city and parks programs out of, public-private partnership.
Well, I was going to say before, but it didn't seem relevant. Now it does. This seems to be a park franchise equivalent of pilot payment in lieu of taxes, which occurs both in Battery Park City and in Brooklyn Bridge Park, whereby the residential developments, all of the taxes pertinent to them are diverted to the maintenance of the parks rather than to the city treasury. Is that correct? Is it, Joy? Yes.
I'm not so clear on the mechanics that you just described, but if you need that clarification.
No, I think that's, I hear what Roger's saying, and I will include it in the resolution.
Yeah, and then just lastly, I do think it's sensitive. I think you've done a really good job using nice materials like oak and things like that. So I'm in support. It's been a long road, George, though, right?
It has. Roger, just we've been doing some calculations while the meeting's been going on. So this is roughly about 1,000 square feet less than what we had proposed at John Street. I mean, it was about 2,500 at John Street, and this is roughly about 1,500.
Very good. Okay, thank you. We should know that too, Joe, I'd say.
Right.
Roger, can I just ask, in addition to what you're asking, can I ask for a clarification? So this isn't a permanent structure in the sense that it's only floor area and it's habitable space, but it's temporary in the sense that it can be dismantled in a very short amount of time, right? Architects would know this.
Yeah. Before the architects answer the technical aspect of that, when we go to LPC, that is one of the requirements, that whatever you change or bring in has to be removable or reversible, so to speak. So
right. So to answer Roger, it's not a permanent structure. To answer our concern that Roger brought up, it is temporary in the sense that it can be dismantled within a very short amount of time. So it's not a permanent structure.
Yeah, okay. I think that's what I was getting confused about before. That's helpful clarification. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I was wanting myself to have this clarified. Okay, thank you.
Jason?
Hi, guys. Can you see me
Yes.
or hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. There you are.
I'm surprised that everybody's so in love with it, but I do love that George keeps coming back, and everyone really is trying to make something work with this thing that started down south. I guess, I wondered if even after you guys do this, and even if it's a success, which we hope it is, are we then going to get another application where you guys are going to say, oh, look at the success of this. We want to now close off that other place where we wanted to put seating. And you don't have to really answer that question, but I'd be curious if this takes away the opportunity that Parks has over at the other side, or we could just keep, adding as much as these programs under the FDR. And I do think it's kind of ironic that you guys moved the building back and then put something under the FDR that kind of does block this beautiful building that I see now from under the FDR. But I support it, and I hope that you guys are a success there.
And Jason, just by the way, I don't love it, but I have the same, retro understanding of where we've been on this,
Yes.
so.
Right.
Chow, Liz, Mark, Vera?
Chow is fine with this.
Yes, this is Liz, and I do appreciate all that's gone into trying to find a more suitable location, and again, all of the design elements and the like. It is what it is, but I do agree with the vast majority of what's been stated.
So Megan, Vera, Susan.
This is Vera. Thank you. I am glad that the view corridor is not being blocked. I'm slightly perturbed at the sacrifice, though, that has to be made, but I understand it's a worthy sacrifice, so to speak. I do have a question still, which I don't quite understand. The blockhouse, as the behind the blockhouse, and with respect to the steps leading up to the Tim building, so there's what, 1.3 inches? 1 foot 3 inches, is that
No,
it between the block?
Yeah, it's about 15 inches total up to the first step.
Okay, so there's no, so the back of the blockhouse will be separated. There's no jumping from the blockhouse to the steps. Is that what the idea is? Or how is that going to work?
Yeah, we wanted to keep it separate, but given the tight constraints of the site, we set it apart, but it's close.
Okay, and so nobody could really go into that area, right? That little, it's like a canal area behind in the back.
Yeah,
Well,
you
it's
could
important
still
to
use these.
Go ahead, Jess. You go and then I'll jump in.
Okay. Yeah, you could still use these steps for sitting on, and every intent that the steps are used.
Okay.
But we did want to create, we didn't want people to be able to just jump from from the blockhouse back to the tin. We wanted to create a physical separation between the two.
Okay.
Understood. So Vera, I would just add that it's important to remember that there's a ramp to the east of the steps.
Yeah.
And so not for the block. Yeah, but go back. So up to the tin, there's a ramp up to the tin building. And so that ramp up to the tin building, people could walk down the steps if they wanted to, right? That's how we
okay.
So, yeah, so there is, north of the stairs where there is no blockhouse, obviously people could come off the Esplanade and sit on those steps, but certainly they have access to them from behind.
Okay. Thank you.
Adding to what Vera said, it gave me concern from the beginning. It may not be a precise landmarks issue, but that 15 feet, I know how it's going to be utilized at 2 in the morning, and it's not going to be pretty. That 15 feet is going to turn into a trough, not a step. That will be filled with things that we don't want it to be filled with, nor do you. It just seems like an awfully awkward moment to have a 15-inch trough where people are gonna, get drunk and do various things. It's so apparent. Maybe it could be leveled off with the step above something. Anyway.
Yes. Yes, I hear you, and I think that we can definitely address that. That makes sense.
So we're missing Mark and Megan. Did you?
Hi, Bruce. Yeah, you used the word that I was thinking is that what you call trough, but I was thinking awkward. Just from these visuals, it just looks awkward to me. And then people sitting on the steps, they're looking into the blockhouse. What is
go to that slide that we just had with the.
What are they looking at? Why would they sit there?
No.
Yes, that's where they'll sit.
Right, but
And they're
Did
just
you
kind
want-
of looking into the blockhouse?
yeah.
Jennifer,
Yeah.
or whoever's controlling the screen, can we go back to looking north with the section of the steps and the little hinge there of the 15 there? Okay, so proceed.
No, I was just curious. I thought, like you and Vera both pointed out, there's just something very awkward about that dead space between the steps and the blockhouse. And I just was curious because people are just sitting on the steps and we'll be looking into whomever's in the blockhouse. And I'm fine with it. It's okay. Nothing great, but it's fine. That's it.
Yeah, and just to point out, sorry, I keep flipping back and forth. We do have this space that is open. The closed area over here is closing it so people don't have to look into the back bar, which is not always that nice to look at if you are sitting on the steps. So there's a visual connection between the two when you're sitting on either side, but that's part of the reason why we have this wall here.
Yeah.
Susan, did you speak?
No, Jason said it all for me. I thought that he did it fine. And Vera's questions, I agree. I think that you will have I think they should do something with that back 15-foot piece, but that's
It's
it.
15 inches, Susan. It's 15 inches.
Oh, I meant inches. I did mean inches.
And I know, but what can you do? I mean, they either flush it, but then stairs are like right against the flush of the back of the wall. That makes no sense.
Put it back a little. I don't know. I'm not an architect.
No,
but,
it's an awkward location. They did the best they could with what they were asked to do.
I certainly agree with all of those comments. We will work with Mancini Duffy to try to address that.
Thank you. So from what I'm hearing, did I miss anybody on the? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Bruce, can we just move it back to John Street? I'm sorry, I just had to say.
Sure, go ahead.
Absolutely not.
Just laughing. Just move it back.
Yeah.
Bruce.
So did I miss anybody on the board? No. Okay. And is there any public comment?
There are. We have David Sheldon, followed by Detta L. I see that their hands are raised.
Yes. May I ask just a few questions? What is the height from floor to ceiling?
It's about 11'6" overall, but inside of the space you have about 11 foot.
Okay, that's reasonable. May I ask, and I realize this is something you really can't anticipate, but you have some idea of what the hours of operation might be? Is it open for breakfast?
Not open for breakfast and aligned to some degree or very much so to the hours of operation at the tin building.
Okay, so I think my question really comes down to what does it look like when it's closed at night? You're not leaving it open, are you?
We are going, so it depends on in the summer, alcohol will be removable or lockable and will fall under the overnight security that we already have and will adjust to capture tin building within that security plan.
So that the walls remain open in the summer?
Correct.
I see. That's impressive. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
There's another.
We have Detta Al. Are you there with us?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. So my question was about the sound mitigation for the FDR. So I would assume there's either it's in a place where it doesn't have a high volume of sound from the FDR, or there's some way to mitigate it.
Well, we haven't analyzed the acoustics in that location. We do have a fairly thick roof on the interior space, so we can evaluate that and determine it from that. That is really the main area where we would be able to mitigate the sound. When we have the open patio, obviously it's out in the open, so there wouldn't be much of a difference.
Thank you.
Mark, you didn't speak. Do you want to say anything, Mark Amaruso? Okay. So what I'm hearing, and if any
No, thank you. No, thank you.
board member wants to say anything, just go right ahead. I'm hearing that overall we like it. I've taken very copious notes. We made note of the 15-inch divide. Roger wants us to note, and I think it's good, that we applaud the contribution to the park and so on, that arrangement. I want to say that I am pleased, and I'm sure Roger and Jason, as people who have chaired or co-chaired any number of presentations of this application, that this was a forceful response to the community, to have moved the location altogether, which was really a black eye originally. You know, I think we all appreciate the effort to address very head-on the community's desires. I think it's unfortunate that we were all thrilled with the presentation of the tin building last month, and I think it's a shame that it's being blocked from its most important view corridor. You know, that's the money situation nowadays in the city, and it's going to be there. So I don't know how to address that except to reject this, which we're not going to do. I happen to think the architecture is very good, just a little bit too much going on, but that didn't come up in the board comments, so I'll leave that out. There just seems to be a lot of, all the materials are nice, the utilities are nice, like the lamps. It just seems from head on, there's an awful lot going on. And I don't want it to detract to what we can see of the tin building. But since that wasn't addressed, I won't address it. So I hear an approval with the one caveat about the 15 inches. I guess that's my proposal for a resolution.
Bruce, can I just ask one thing? So this 15-inch, right? There are only two options here. You either take the structure and push it 15 inches in and it blocks the stairway, but that is going to be a visual madness. And also, I'm not sure if people like to, see stairs and they can't run for their life because there's a building in front. So you cannot, the only other option is to take the structure and move it outwards, north, south, east, westwards, right, towards the bike lanes and the sidewalk. So which of those two would you prefer?
Personally, we've always taken the position that we are not going to design on the committee.
I know, but when
they said
I know that, Bruce, but I'm just saying, you don't have to answer it. Maybe that was my problem. This
was a rhetorical question. Okay.
It was just like, let's not say, because we can now discuss. We know you can either go to the left or to the right. So I just want us to be aware so that there are no surprises.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It takes a while to read all this stuff and comprehend.
We can also make sure we keep it clean as part of the premise. We want to do that. In other words,
but the architect, Vicky is an architect. The architects specifically said they would try to address it. So if the whole structure moves west, then I would ask them to return to the committee. I mean, that would be a big change. And how they would deal with that interstitial, I would say, is their business. They're willing to look at it. And since the whole board brought it up.
First, I would just say that it won't move to the west. It can't move. It can't move to the west. You need the Esplanade. You need the bike lane.
So then
moving it to the west is not an option.
Right. So
moving it back is certainly one option, Vicky. But I think there's some things that we can do to connect it. So that there's not that trough there. Maybe we, bump out the step a little. There's a rail we can do on the back so that people can
That's right.
sit under the rail. I mean, there are a number of concepts we'll approach, and I'm certain we'll come up with something, and
Just
be happy to share that with the group once we do.
Yeah. Then we keep pushing, and then this is how we ended up here, right? Thank you.
So that was my suggestion for the resolution based on the totality of the committee's comments. Shall we take a vote? Jennifer, do you want to conduct we need a second to the resolution.
Yeah. If a member can call
Second.
Somebody second. Okay. Great. Bruce,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Mark,
Mark,
Sorry, I've been having a little trouble with this. Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Susan. All right. Liz,
Liz, yes.
Megan, Vera,
Yes.
Chow,
Yes.
Roger.
Yes, and well done, George, for keeping at it.
I'll take that as a yes.
That's I should say yes, and thank you, George, for keeping it.
Okay. So the votes are in, and the resolution.
I didn't hear Vera.
Vera said yes.
And Chow said yes.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't hear the whole. Okay, so that's great, approved, and that's.
Thank you all, and thank you for your thoughtful comments. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
And vice versa.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it's the earliest meeting ever. It's so early that I feel like we should add another agenda item. But since there isn't one, I would like to raise one quick question. If I don't know if Joy is still here. I hope so. Are you here, Joy?
I am here. Yes.
So, Duane Park, there have been a lot of residents of Community Board 1 who have contacted me. It may not be our purview, but Duane Park is the second oldest park in Manhattan. The oldest, putatively anyway, is Bowling Green. They're about the same size. Duane Park was once bigger in the midst of time in the end of the 18th century, but anyway, it's still there. It was beautifully restored a number of years ago. Oliver Allen was very much involved with it. It was a lot of civic money went into it from private sources in the neighborhood. The DOT wants to extend an already extensive city bike installation along the entire south side of Duane Park. There's a beautiful, historically appropriate cast iron fence that was installed the length of the park there on the south side. They want to basically completely cover that with city bike stands, and there are alternatives, and there are many, many city bike installations in that immediate area. And people are freaking out. It means so much, that historic park. I don't know of any parks per se that are individually designated landmarks. So it's within the Tribeca West Historic District on all sides. Nevertheless, can you speak to this issue in any way?
I guess your question is about what to do in terms of having some say in the placement of this city bike.
Especially as it relates to one of the most historic moments or areas, places in downtown Manhattan.
Yeah. We usually don't have not gotten too involved directly with the city bike installations. I mean, that's not in my, definitely not in my division, but I could find out for you. I believe you could, we do have a landmarks preservationist who's our liaison, and she might be able to, advise you as to what, because I think, she is also very mindful of, any of our landmark sites. So
that if you could contact Jennifer or me or to interface. There is no sidewalk on the south side of Duane Park, so it's all cast iron, beautiful cast iron fence. I'm loath to call it a fence because it's a beautiful cast iron installation, and it would be completely, that whole side of the park would be blocked by those city bike. You know what they are? Those stalls.
yeah.
It's just it's a shame. Not only is it a shame for the park, it's a shame for the neighbors. It's just, anyway. So that's all. I mean, I could open it to the floor if anyone. It's a parochial issue, but and I don't live on that street. But so many people have contacted me about it that I just thought I brought up to the whole committee. That's all.
I'm so glad you did. It's Vicky. I'm so glad you did. I mean, it's all integral, right? And to destroy a park space, especially when we need, green spaces, just to do nothing, just sit, breathe air, touch grass, look at grass, smell grass. How many more bikes do we need?
I mean, Vicky,
and why
believe me,
why
the city bike stalls in that immediate area are over. There's more than anyone could use, unless, I don't know, it turns into Beijing in 1960.
Exactly.
There are so many empty stalls there.
Exactly. And it's like, how many more city signs do we need to see to execute all of this? It's just not genuine. And I don't know why, but recently, I think why, because of COVID, I'm really starting to realize the absolute need to protect all green spaces. Humans need it. Our psyche needs it. Right?
So, Joy, will you help
Bruce,
us?
can I have a comment on it?
Please.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you for bringing it up. I mean, enough is enough with these bicycles. I mean, the city wants to take away lanes of the Brooklyn Bridge. I mean, we need to fight this. I don't know whether it's in this committee or another committee. Ironically, it should not be transportation because the leadership there is extraordinarily biased against any type of vehicles and overly in favor of bicycles, no matter. I suspect that even in this case, we might have an issue there. But somewhere we have to fight this because enough is enough with these bicycles. And somehow, if you're against putting bicycles there, you'll eventually be tagged by Transportation Alternatives or something as a bad citizen because you're against bicycles. That's their tactic. So I mean, you bring up all the good points, Bruce. We need to find a way to fight this because it's a beautiful space, like you said. It's our oldest park. The fence is gorgeous. They did a great job, and to take away the view corridors and just for having all these damn bicycles all over the place is ridiculous. There's plenty of other spaces to put it. Why don't they put it in a city hall or something?
Bruce, why don't we then put it on the agenda for next month and do a resolution in opposition and then ask Pat on quality of life.
Exactly.
With him.
Yes.
I hope it's
Great
not
idea,
too late.
Roger.
My understanding, and you all know a lot of these people, Stephen Wills, Carrie Parker Davidson, who really has taken it upon herself to maintain that park. She also is the publisher and editor of Tribeca Citizen. These people are not averse to environmental issues or biking. So I hear what Mark is saying, but even if we didn't take it as a universal issue, we're talking about an historic historic spot that does, that's our purview.
I think Roger's point is well taken. Let's put it on, let's make a resolution and take it to quality of life and bring it to the board. And I think we should do something about it. Absolutely. Because it's a great park.
Okay.
I know it. It's fabulous.
Jennifer, can you arrange to put it on our agenda next month? I hope it won't be too late, but I'll find out if it's too late. And if it is, I'll bring it up as a new resolution, either the executive committee or at the new business in the full board if we still can.
So we can attack this 3 committees, right? Us, quality of life, transportation if they want it, but let's do a massive sweep of reviewing this, yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, Bruce, this is Joy. The other thing that I could do is also, we have an interagency coordinator, and then the borough office for Manhattan Parks. I can connect you with them as well.
Nice, great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thanks, everyone. That was a great meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
This is short. Should we hang out and chat? I'm kidding.